Let's cross on over live to Geneva. Homa Lenski has been covering the Geneva talks for us, and he joins us now with a guest. Homa, over to you.
Kaveh, thank you very much. Sitting beside me now is Mr. Michael Mann, the spokesperson of Lady Catherine Ashton. Mr. Mann, thank you very much for giving us the time. We're live on Press TV, and I'd like you to tell our viewers what you think about this round of talks. Would you use positive words? Would you say it's constructive? Would you say it's moving forward?
Well, as you know, since the arrival of the new government in Tehran, things have really moved forward a lot. At the last round in Geneva, just less than 2 weeks ago, we did make considerable progress, but obviously differences still remain. So Catherine Ashton has come back very shortly after the last round, and I think that's a sign of how serious this is, to try and narrow those differences. She's come back with a determination to really drive things forward. I'm not going to make any predictions, but she wants to find, as soon as possible, a sustainable and robust deal with Iran that is really verifiable and reassures the international community about the purely peaceful nature of the Iranian nuclear program. She had a lunchtime meeting with Minister Zarif today, which was very positive. They went into a very brief plenary session just to set the tone for the rest of the talks, and now they're having what we call bilateral meetings, where the Iranian side is meeting with each of the delegations in turn. We're determined to move things forward, so we hope that the Iranians have come in the same spirit.
Well, there's been a lot said about whether the P5+1 this time round specifically is united in its approach towards Iran. There's a lot been said about how France, for instance, is creating trouble. Would you say that the P5+1 has reached a unified stance after this 10-day period?
We call them the E3+3, but it's the same thing. Yes, I mean, we are united. Of course, there was a lot of reporting after the last set of talks that France may have said this, that or the other, but at heart, of course, we all want the same thing. People have been over-interpreting what was said last time. The E3+3 is united. It's all about, getting that robust deal with the Iranians. We are now in a slightly different format from last time, where we have the political directors, the senior officials from the E3+3 with Catherine Ashton, talking with the minister. We think that that's quite a good way of doing it, because it is a very technical dossier, and as I say, we're just determined to drive things forward, and we are, as always, united behind Catherine Ashton.
Well, Iran said, or rather diplomatic sources, we can say, told us that they were very close to reaching a deal, Iran and the other side. You say they're the EU 3+3, but what led to a lack of agreement last time, and has that issue been resolved now? I mean, would you say that this time that obstacle still remains, or doesn't?
I'm always a little bit unwilling to go into the details of what's on the table. I'm not supposed to do that. We want the negotiations to happen in the negotiating room, and that's the same for the Iranian side as well, which is a good thing. It shows the level of seriousness. I don't think it's fair to say there's one issue that's in the way. We narrowed a lot of differences, and a few things remain outstanding. It's because these talks are so complicated. They are very technical, and it's been 10 years. You can't suddenly get an agreement overnight on that. So I don't think anyone should panic. We are prepared to do hard work to bridge those differences. It will take as long as it takes. We've always said we don't want to talk for the sake of talking, but of course we don't want it to last forever either. But what has to happen at the end of the day is that the deal has to be a good deal that everybody can live with, and actually provides the reassurance that we're seeking.
President Rouhani has said this, and Foreign Minister Zarif has said it a lot of times, that we are now ready to allay all the concerns of the other side. Is the West, getting that message and seeing the measures that Iran is taking, especially when we saw Iran and the IAEA sign an agreement? Is the West seeing that as a step taken by Iran towards confidence building, even, Iran says, beyond its obligations under the NPT?
Well, we were very glad that there was that progress made with the IAEA, of course. That's a parallel track to what we're doing. We've been very pleased with the mood music coming out of Tehran. There's been a lot of positive noises coming from the new government. What needs to happen now is that that's followed up concretely with an agreement that is not only solid, covers what needs to be covered, but is also fully verified. So, if they can follow through on what they've been saying by doing as well, that's fantastic. But we have to wait and see.
You told me, I remember some time back, the onus was on Iran, the ball was in Iran's court. Do you think that's still how you would, describe it now?
Well, of course. I mean, this is a negotiation about the Iranian nuclear program, and it's the Iranian nuclear program that has been the subject of Security Council resolutions and concerns from the IAEA. So, of course, if you're talking about the Iranian nuclear program, it's Iran. The onus is very much on Iran to provide that proof that we're looking for. But of course, it's a negotiation, so both sides have to be willing to be flexible. But the ball is in the Iranian court, definitely.
So, in line with the confidence-building measures that Iran has taken, is the West being reciprocal in a way that Iran could also accept?
Again, I'm going to swerve talking about details of what's on the table. But of course, I mean, we have sanctions in place. They're not just there for the sake of it, they're there for a reason. They're there targeting the nuclear program because of the international concerns. As long as the reasons for those sanctions remain, the sanctions will remain. But of course, if the situation on the ground changes, then of course we would have to show willing as well. But the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Iran has to actually prove verifiably that it is going to change what it's doing.
And just before we leave you, I know you've got a lot of work to do, Mr. Mann. Are we in this round going to see the foreign ministers get involved in the talks? Are we near a deal or not?
It would be wrong of me to make too many predictions. I'd rather let the negotiators get on with their work. Last time the foreign ministers turned up rather unexpectedly. This time the format is foreseen as being political directors behind Catherine Ashton. At the moment, that's the way things are.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael Mann, Catherine Ashton's spokesperson with us live here on Press TV. Thank you, Mr. Mann, and thank you, Carver, for staying with us.